free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and happy Sunday night to all of you out there from Navigating Leadership. My name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal of Charlton Middle School. And alongside of me, I have my cohort of good friends here tonight. We're going to have an opportunity to talk to you about a special topic. And being fit, that is Memorial Day weekend, we couldn't think of anything better than to really dig into Memorial Day and what it means in our schools, and more importantly, what it means as us as leaders to be able to plant the seeds so kids truly understand that meaning of why they need to take some time and pause and just reflect back on all the great things we have in our country today. And that to me, as an ex-history teacher, is so exciting. So again, listen, I'm Dean Packard, principal of Charlton Middle School, and alongside of me, I'm going to quickly go to Chris, the co-producer of Unlock the Middle first, and then we're going to go down to Josh after that, and then around the horn. So Chris, how are you today, guys? Good to see all of you.
Man, it's good to be here with you guys, Dean, and Fred, AJ, Josh. We're in the midst of our Memorial Day weekend. If you're following the weather at all, Massachusetts, 48 degrees and rain and wind. It's not a very nice Memorial Day weekend weather-wise, but it's a great opportunity to spend some time with friends and family, and we're certainly getting that done. And we're here tonight on a Sunday. Yeah. Fantastic. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great. Well, greetings to everybody from Austin, Texas today. And being a former Marine and a history teacher, it's one of the times that it really surrounds me in my spirit and my soul, because I have a lot of either colleagues of mine, former Marines of mine, or my students that were in the military. And some of them have either paid the ultimate price and or their family members, because you know what, when they come back and they still have PTSD and other situations such as that, and it's a connection that we have with our kids or with our former Marine friends of mine that I know that have been affected by the different conflicts that we've been involved around the world. But most importantly, another thing, I like sending out messages every week to people that I care and appreciate about. This is a time also to honor those families that have an empty seat because their family members paid the ultimate sacrifice. So one of those situations to myself, thank you. Thank you to those family members. Thank you to those wives, to those children that either have an empty plate today or tomorrow, or have been affected by because their significant other spouse made the sacrifice for us. So thank you very much on behalf of Josh Toar, my family, to your family. Thank you for what you've done.
Good stuff, Josh, and you're spot on with what you're saying. So, Dr. White, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate being here as always. I think our time here that we are granted just because individuals have gone out and fought for our right to live the way that we do. That piece that we always push in for our kids, that freedom that they have to be as unique as they want to be in the building, that's been granted to us by those soldiers that have consistently went out and fought for us. I think we definitely have to make sure that we show our kids how to be appreciative, what this really means, why do we really celebrate this day, and then bring it back home and really talk about what has been sacrificed by those individuals that have served for this country. So I know many individuals that have been in service, and I respect, love, and appreciate all that they do. So to those individuals out there that have served, thank you for all that you do. Always appreciative of my kids, my family, Bellevue Middle in Memphis. We all love those that have served.
Love it. Thank you. AJ. Good to see you. Happy Sunday.
Guys, good seeing you on this Sunday. And I really appreciate this conversation. You know, it really is important. As the gentleman just said, you know, with our students, they don't understand the meaning of Memorial Day. They hear it, they think, oh, it's a memorial. If they understand that word, they understand what the point of this is, but they get the long weekend. You know, coming from a family of, you know, my dad, my grandma, my grandfather, my wife's grandfather, they had served in the military. They had friends they lost. You know, this is extremely important to me. You know, I as a social studies teacher, I want my students to understand I hate to say it like this, the difference between Memorial Day and Labor Day and all the day, they don't get it. They think it all kind of rolls together. So I think talking about this and helping our students and our community understand what Memorial Day is, I think it's really important. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah, you know what? And thank you for saying that, AJ. And I often think about it in public schools today. We are really inundated with what we have to teach from a standard-based perspective. But when you dig down into the weeds about days, whether you said whether it's Memorial Day, Labor Day, or Independence Day, and all these things, there's a certain importance that we are responsible as leaders to help not only our students, but our educators lead the way and kind of ensure that kids get the bigger picture. So, in our schools, we all do a little bit different philosophy on what that looks like. Let's talk a little bit about maybe what that would look like in your school. And I'm going to just start off very quickly. I know my social studies teachers do a nice little lead in. They make sure that they are talking about the salient points and the history behind everything. But kids today are running 1,000,000 miles an hour, man. And you know what? And I hate to think for a second, and I know I'm a realist, that, they get the long weekend and they see that just as an opportunity to let loose and just go. So if we can plant that seed in some capacity and just help our kids take a moment tomorrow, and really reflect on, go to a parade, be part of something bigger, really try to understand. If we do that, that's a bigger win for all of us. So again, I know in our school, we do some things leading up to it. We teach that with that opportunity. Chris, over at your school, what do you guys do?
Very similar to you, Dean. We've got some amazing teachers who do great individual lessons. We don't do a large-scale assembly yet. In a previous school that I was fortunate enough to be a part of, we would bring in some really powerful speakers, some folks who had been active duty, but more importantly, folks who were active duty who lost friends, who lost family members. And we talked about that as opposed to what it was like to serve the country on Memorial Day. We talked about what it was like to lose. But then it turns into the conversation of the win. The kids have the right and the ability to go out and play softball with their friends on the weekend, or choose to be a part of Scouts or some other civic organization, to worship as they please, to go about their life and be engaged in the school environment like we're engaged in. And really trying to stress to the kids the importance of not taking anything like that for granted, and understanding that it's important to reflect on those opportunities that we all have. And not try to do it in isolation, but use these days, such as Memorial Day, as a springboard, for kind of kickstarting the memory and the recollection of the importance of all those lessons we're trying to teach them.
Josh.
It's one of those things where, as stated before, some of the previous schools that I was at, we do bring in speakers to talk to the kids, and it's segued through social studies. And right now, it's one of those things that I think that I use, and I know a lot of you use it, I see it, the power of social media to further insert our teaching, because we're still teachers. Doesn't matter our chair. We still teach the vision of what it is to lead. And a good leader encompasses not only, that the teachers are presenting their lesson, that the school is safe, but also your vision as a person, as a leader, making sure you instill those historical lessons and the why to our kids. And then I have this awesome honor at the campus that I'm in. Those kids are like me. They just came in from Vietnam. They just came in from Burkina Faso. They just came in from different parts of Central America. All those brand new kids arrived to the United States for me. I came from another country. And so it's my job, I feel even more so, to make sure that I emphasize this. Because I gave back to the country that gave me everything. Look, I'm sitting in an awesome chair thanks to this country. I'm sitting as a high school principal, as a middle school principal in the same campus, being a child from poverty from another country. They need to understand that gentlemen gave their life for me to have that. So I thought it was only proper to give back to my country to give me all this. So it's my job nonstop to keep on perpetuating the vision that we have, to take advantage of all the opportunities that we have in this country. Ongoing. And I embedded both with social media, and I embedded also with the morning announcements to keep on reminding them. but this is an ongoing process of learning as they take advantage of all the opportunities they have in our country.
I love that you said it. It's not just a day; it's an understanding. If we can cultivate an understanding for our kids, we win. We win because that is a ripple effect that goes further than just a moment in the day. So, Josh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Dr. White.
Well, I think I've fallen down on this piece, and I think historically a lot of schools have. I think you said something earlier, just kids knowing that this is more than a 3-day holiday, a 3-day break for them. I think we often talk to kids about being appreciative of what they have and the people that sacrifice. I think, we do this little piece, we bring officers, or not officers, but military people out when we do games and show them this honor, basketball, football. I think that's just a small piece of what we should be doing for individuals that have sacrificed so much for us. And you think about those, as Josh said, that come home and deal with all of the trauma of being in the military, all of that PTSD, all of these things that consistently plague their lives. They've given this to us, but we don't celebrate them enough. We get to this day. This is the day that everybody trumps out or brings out individuals, say, hey, salute the flag and all of this stuff. But what happened, 3 weeks ago? How did we celebrate or honor these individuals that have given so much? How do we consider them? What are we doing for those individuals that we see are struggling out there that have served this country? I think that's a piece that I've fallen down on. A lot of schools have fallen down on, to put that little bit of care and knowledge into our kids. I'm going to try my best to do better myself. Listening to some of the ideas that you guys have had or stated, but more. See what I can do to make my kids really understand the sacrifices that have been made for them to be able to do the things that they're doing right now.
And that falls on us as all school personnel. I mean, again, and Dr. White, I'm glad you said that. We've all kind of fallen back on that because time is very precious. But again, if we pick and choose the things that we want our kids to understand and embrace and cultivate that and try to cultivate it in a way that they become better learners, then it's a win. So I'm so happy that you're going to look at it from, and try to look for avenues to improve upon that, because we all have to. We just have to, because it's part of who we are and what we do. AJ.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. White. I kind of missed out on this one a little bit leading up to the weekend. There could have been more that I did, either whether social media or the morning announcements, but there's definitely some pieces that I missed out on telling the kids like how to live these next couple of days. I will say we did some good things in the classrooms. I know the socialized teachers, ELA teachers, they were definitely speaking about it and kind of, reminding the students, especially the younger students, 5th grade, 6th grade, who really don't know or don't remember, that they were really kind of putting this on them and telling them what Memorial Day looks like. I know our school counselors, as part of our week of service, were packing up little bags to the veterans as thank yous.
Love it.
Just put it out there for the community. Not a lot of stuff, but just quick thank yous, quick little care packages. But that's a starting point, and I think we can go bigger than that. And I think as we go forward, for our community with Veterans Day, with Memorial Day, I think we can really create that bond together that we understand and have the understanding of how we can serve those around us. I mean, who knows? We might have kids whose families, are reeling this weekend because of the thoughts they have for Memorial Day. So we have to do a better job, or I have to do a better job, just getting this out there to the kids more.
I mean, you're spot on. You're absolutely right. And, we have agencies in town. We have veterans agencies, and we have parades that happen in town, and groups that are all orchestrating behind the scenes and getting this stuff done. So there's plenty of ways to tie in community with the learning that goes on in schools as well. And I know our elementary schools do a great job. I saw several pictures of the parades happening outside of school. And, we have a couple principals who aren't on social media. I know you can't believe that, Josh, but I would say that they asked me to do some tweeting for them tomorrow, and they sent me a bunch of pictures, and I will, because it's a collaborative effort. And again, you're only as strong as you provide those connectivity pieces to your community and what you serve. So the more we do things like that, the more we win. And, and I just kind of sit back in my chair sometimes and just say, okay, what's next? I mean, how can we become better at this? Do the standards need to change? Do the way that we go about teaching, we have to maybe look and try to make it more realistic with kids and try to engage them in some community output that would really change the way that kids would learn about this stuff. So just tossing that out there in the middle here to see if anybody has some thoughts on that. Chris?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up, Dean. I think it's really important for us to engage kids in the understanding of civic duty and responsibility and ensure that they are always trying to find ways to give. We can do that through community service initiatives or, here in Massachusetts, we've got a great experience that was created back in 2009 called Project 351. We have 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth, and as part of Governor Deval Patrick's inaugural experience when he came in and took office, he designed this Project 351 to engage leaders from across the Commonwealth, 8th grade students, to be engaged as a youth congress once a year to go out and engage in community service, learn about leadership and civic responsibility, and then come back to their hometowns and engage in some type of experience and opportunity. And, really highlighting those types of elements in our schools. We've got great, rich traditions of community service and engagement, but being able to tie that in to the greater responsibilities and freedoms that the kids really take for granted. We want to ensure that we've got the right message behind the story, I guess. And, reminding kids that nothing that they do is taken for granted, that they've got great power and ability and opportunity. But it all started, in this case, since we're talking Memorial Day, from those who gave their lives, that ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedoms and ability to make choice. And I, every day, try to tell the kids that they have a choice, and it is theirs to make, ultimately. But making sure that we connect it to the greater purpose, I think, is really key and important as we move forward.
Josh?
This thing has to be purposeful whenever we plan this, all of us. And, just like Fred said right now, he slipped off. Not all of us have, because we get it's the end of the school year. And let's be real. We've got state testing. We got teacher evaluations. We got parent phone calls. We're preparing the master schedule for next year. Blah, 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 blah. Keep on going on and on, right? And this, a lot of times it's human nature to say, hey, here in Texas, us in our district, we have a 4-day weekend. So it's one of those things where we're thinking, it's time for us to sharpen the saw. So there was not a good time to set this up. But right now, we need to make it a concerted effort that once we go back, we remind the kids, I'm talking for Josh right now, is that for the next 4 days, starting Tuesday, that there's like a little snippet every morning added to social media to say, this was why we were off the last 4 days. It wasn't to go get a mattress. It wasn't to go get suits. It wasn't for chilling at the beach or you guys bundled up with Netflix, but it is for giving thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for someone who was 18 years old and didn't come back from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Thank you to someone who was 19, specialist, and didn't come back from Iraq. Someone whose life was taken in different parts of the planet, because we're all over the globe.
Yep.
One of those things that we need to accentuate once we come back, and we make it. 4 days is not enough for a life of one of our fellow citizens, but you know what? It's enough to make them accountable. Because if you go around social media right now, if you look at YouTube, people are going around and saying, what do we celebrate today? And 3/4 of the individuals from college have no idea what we celebrate today.
Yeah.
They don't even know what it's called.
You're right.
And that's one of those things where we need to look at the mirror and say, whoa, what's up, public education? Because they left our building. They're just saying, make it a concerted effort to make sure that we keep on emphasizing what the purpose of each ceremony is. Black History Month, Hispanic Month, Women Month, whatever it might be, but always keep on embedding that part of our message to our kids.
Yeah.
Dr. White?
I think when Chris said that we need to look at what type of civic responsibility are we inputting into our scholars, I think that was a big piece. We have our kids do a lot of things for the community. We try to make kids aware that the world is bigger than just their small environment and able to reach out. Part of that, of course, is being grateful to those civil servants those soldiers. Just on the civil servant piece, and we always try to have a piece at least once a year where we bring our kids in and we have police officers because of the nature of the relationship with police officers and our kids right now in society in general. We try to make sure the kids understand that not all police officers are a image of what you're seeing on television. Police officers in general are good people, are people that are here to serve and protect us. We got to make sure we have that conversation, and that normally rolls over in military conversation also, because most of the police officers that we bring in have also served in the military. So having that connection, having our kids to see that, respecting these individuals for the work that they do, and then sort of emulating some of the stuff that they do, getting out there and serving the general public. Those are pieces that we try to push. But once again, I think we need to just find different ways to not just compartmentalize that within these 4 days, or 3 days, in those 3 days, but spread it out throughout the year. How do we address or respect these individuals throughout the year? Women, African-American, Hispanic, whatever the culture piece may be. Stop, just putting that into that time frame where somebody put it here, you get a day off, or here you get we're going to talk about that just this weekend. So definitely.
Thank you. AJ.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start putting this more on my students, to be honest with you. I think me working with my student council and their advisor, I think we're going to be able to really figure out how we can go about sending this message to the school. Because, we could sit here and blame ourselves for missing the boat on whatever we did. But, we also have to have the students be leaders as well, right? They have to understand so they can tell us, hey, you forgot to do this today. I shouldn't be the one telling them. They should tell us. So I think working with my student council going forward, trying to figure out how we can best send this message out to the community, what we could do for the community, and how we can, bring this into our schools as we go forward. I know this year has just been, crazy just with the restrictions and COVID and all that. But I think going forward, we have a lot that we can do. And I think it's going to be, something huge to tackle. But I think once we have our students on board and they understand, and as you said, it's not one day, it's going to go from September all the way through the end of June so that they can continue this message and understand it and live it every day.
So the word that resonates with me after hearing all of you guys is if we could really have our kids understand the word democracy. What does it mean? Because it all filters back down to choice and freedoms, because you have a choice for a voice in everything that you do. And if kids can understand that, and if our schools emulate that, if we allow kids to have a voice and understand, to help our culture and our society within our buildings grow, that whole learning community, then they get a bigger picture of how to respect the days such as Memorial Day, Veterans Day, because all of a sudden now you can say you have the ability to do this because people have lost their lives fighting for you to do this. So again, to me, that really is the bigger catalyst here in helping kids understand. Chris, your thoughts on that with democracy, and I also go back to thinking some of the greatest moments we've had in my school is when we've had active veterans come in and speak directly to kids and tell their stories, because all of a sudden now it becomes real too. That's the other side of this, and the more real we make it, the more kids can actually sink their teeth into what's going on and I really have an understanding.
Yeah, as we start to really focus in on what our central purpose is as schools, obviously we want to get the reading, writing, and arithmetic out there, but we really need to address through our core values and our belief systems that engagement in that democratic society and that opportunity for kids to really perpetuate that cycle of democracy. I like how you broke it down to the one word there, Dean. Really it comes down to freedom and choice and honoring perspective and permitting individuals to think authentically about how they want to proceed in their life. And that really begins with the understanding that, it's the old adage, freedom isn't free. But what does that mean? In AJ, I think you're spot on, man. Student council, governing ideas and philosophy, student life. What is it that we want the kids to do each and every day? What is the key message for them to continue to move and spin that flywheel of continuous improvement and betterment? This is where it comes down, because this is a common ground for every single child. Some might be strong in math, some might be great readers, some might be fantastic fantasy writers, and some might be great with their hands. But you know what? They can't do what they love, and they can't do what they want unless they have guaranteed rights and freedoms.
Boom, Josh, take that one. Democracy and run.
Just, you see, being an immigrant to this country, my eyes are different than all of you. Coming from another country, coming from Mexico in the 70s, looking at that political structure when it was one party rule and all the corruption and the ballots. And then you come to this country that helped propel my family. To me, I see things so much different. When I hear comments from people from this country, I'm shocked at some of the things that I hear. And even right now, politically, I'm like, wow, my jaw drops knowing what true poverty is. There's a difference between U.S. poverty and Mexico poverty. It's not the same. If you say American poverty and Central American poverty, it's not the same. That's why a lot of us come here to this country for the beauty of the opportunity that it is. So I just think that it's one of my jobs, I feel, is to keep on fulfilling that vision that I have to tell our students, yes, we're a representative republic and we need to embrace the democracy. Are we perfect? Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. But let me tell you, it's way better from where I came from. And it's one of those things that I have conversations with my kids from Central America, from Mexico, and then we talk about, hey, look at all the good things that we have in this country. We don't have to pay for books. We don't have to pay for lunches. We don't have to pay for teachers' tuitions. We don't have to do none of that stuff. So it's, yes, I agree with you. It's having the overarching concept of democracy, but taking advantage of the beauty of this country. And I think that I'm one of the grateful products of our veterans. I'm one of the grateful products of this holiday. And I'm very grateful for this country for everything it gave me. And it's my job to always keep on giving back to my kids.
Love it. Good stuff. Dr. White.
Oh, you say democracy. The first thing that comes to mind is teaching my kids about their own voice. You know, letting my kids know the power of their voice. We talk about, you know, the laws that we have, the laws that are continuously morphing and changing because individuals use their voice. I tell my kids at one point, you know, people of your color did not have the right to vote in this country. It took democracy and voice in order for you to have that right. At one point, you couldn't own property. It took democracy and voice for that to happen. Just making sure that our kids understand that they must be verbal. They must not just sit back and say that what is. We have an open door policy if our kids have ideas, if they have thoughts, not just the student council, which we do have, but just making sure that our kids know that they can come to us with any idea. I have kids, I run a block schedule. I have my kids emailing me, telling me the benefits of the block schedule because I was considering going back to a regular schedule. And they, you know, sent me emails say, hey, we need to do this because this and this. And I love the fact that they took ownership of that and they're willing to stand up and tell me what they believe. Dress code. My kids are very vocal about the dress code and other things like that. I love that piece in them understanding that for the most part, the democracy piece, even in a school structure, is going to work for them. And if they get enough people and they say, hey, this is what we want to do, you know, their voices will be heard. I love that. So once again, just making sure that our kids understand how powerful they are when they move from middle school to high school to college to the world at large, making sure that they use their voice to change the world.
Love it. AJ.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. I think using the voice is what we want our students to do, but I want them to be able to back it up. I don't want to hear just this isn't fair. I want them
Yeah.
to know why it's not fair. I want them to say, it's not fair because I understand this. I feel like my kids, a lot of our kids, middle school kids, they're stuck in their bubble. They know what's going on with them and their friends. They don't know what's going on outside their community, outside the state, outside the country, around the world. I want my kids to be outside of that bubble. I want them to understand the differences between everybody's lifestyles. I want them to see, this is what took place throughout history, but this is coming from a history buff. I want it to happen, but I have to find the ways to kind of push it because I want them to use their voice in the right way and not just kind of fight what's best for them, but what's best for their other people that they don't know. I want them to fight for everybody. So yes, voice is extremely important and it's going to blossom. I know it, but we want them to make sure that they understand why they're using that voice.
Making kids dig deeper and understand deeper. That's a lesson in itself, AJ. And I totally agree with you there. Ask them why. Give me the reasons. Okay. And once they start getting into the why, then the learning begins to happen. So absolutely love it. And again, I'm hoping from my perspective here that tomorrow's a day of reflection for everybody in some capacity, whatever it may be, because again, we as Americans have the right to do anything we want, whenever we want, within the reason, and we can be anything we want to be only because of all the people who have sacrificed their lives for us. So, it's a powerful day. It truly is. And I'm glad we've had this opportunity to speak about it. Chris?
It is. Dean, Fred, AJ, and Josh, thanks so much for joining in tonight on the conversation. Hopefully we've got some ideas for our group here on how we can individually start to influence, and certainly those in our sphere of influence through this platform. I just want to say to any members of our audience who are watching live or watching on replay, those of you who are with your family, remembering any loved ones who have given that ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedoms and ideals that we appreciate, thank you. Thank you. The memories are not going to be short-lived, and they are very, very much appreciated. Be well, everybody. Enjoy the remainder to your weekend, and as always, just keep on chugging and working hard to get better at all that we do.
Take care, everyone.